Tonight, a bloody mystery in the Old East Village.
The whole neighborhood is filled with this on an ongoing basis.
A trail of blood discovered with no victim in sight. Plus, conversion complete.
This is the first one of its kind right here, and I know other property owners will be looking at it with interest.
A look inside London's first office-to-residential transformation. And a cash infusion for the London Children's Museum.
We have to give back to the community and great organization, and our kids are our future.
More than $1 million, getting closer to the overall funding goal.
CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight in the Old East Village, where residents found a trail of blood this morning and a knife nearby. At this point, no victim has turned up, though, and police are trying to figure out who the knife belongs to. As Reta Ismail reports, the incident highlights ongoing OEV safety concerns.
The red kind of almost looks brown now. I don't know, I don't know.
Residents along Charlotte Street in Old East Village woke up to what appeared to be a trail of blood down their sidewalks leading up to Dundas Street.
I saw this morning. I didn't know where it was coming from, and I thought, gee, that sure looks like blood.
Police were called to the scene just after 9 this morning after a homeowner who spoke to CTV News off camera says they saw a trail of blood on their driveway leading up to their truck, which was also stained in blood. And then this, a knife left on the ground. Police say they responded to the mischief call, and forensics was also called to investigate. Meantime, neighbors say they have become used to these types of incidents in Old East Village.
Not that surprised because the whole neighborhood is filled with this on an ongoing basis. And it's troubling to see that these people aren't having more help because they obviously need a lot more help.
No injuries have been reported to police, but the trail of blood has left the community concerned. The Old East Village BIA says it's working to ensure they start to clean up the crime that has become all too common in their ward.
This didn't happen overnight with the problems that we're experiencing, and we're not going to solve it overnight. I do have to say that we're at a point now where we're being listened to. We have new staff on board. We have dedicated staff that are specifically in force to deal with the problems that we have. There's an increase in enforcement. There's an increase in cleaning up the streets.
Police continue to investigate. At this time, no charges have been laid. Reta Ismail, CTV News.
London police say they've made an arrest through an OEV shooting investigation earlier this month. Police say the gunfire rang out near Dundas and English on August 12th. According to police, the suspect fired at an unknown victim, then they both fled the scene. Police say they've arrested and charged a 41-year-old man from London who remains in custody. London police say they've also made an arrest through a shooting investigation downtown earlier this week. According to LPS, officers responded to a residence near Wharncliffe and Bruce Street Wednesday night. They say a neighbor thought they heard a gunshot. When they arrived, they found evidence supporting that theory. Police say they arrested a male suspect shortly after, and no injuries were reported.
Good evening. I'm meteorologist Gary Archibald for CTV News. We are in the midst of a cool down, and tonight into early tomorrow we could see single digits yet again, but that ridge of high pressure has kept things quiet and clear for the most part. A beautiful sunny weekend. It's a long weekend is in store, and we'll see temperatures in the low to mid 20s. We've been hovering around 16 degrees Celsius at the airport. I'm anticipating an overnight low of about 5 or 6, but we'll rebound. And we'll break down the forecast as we look ahead to Labor Day and the first day of school. For now, I'll send it back to you at the desk. Carlyle.
Thanks very much, Gary. Developers behind London's first office-to-residential conversion celebrated its completion today, less than a year after those renovations began. With a look inside the familiar downtown building with a brand new future, here's Daryl Newcombe.
This ribbon cutting has launched downtown London into a new era. This former bank and office building has been transformed into the 376 Lofts at Richmond, a 23-unit residential building with co-working space and a Pilates studio. Last November, Blue Vale Capital began work after tapping into City Hall's Office to Residential Conversion program.
The Office to Residential grant has been extremely helpful. It's actually the reason why that this building can be so successful is a lot of these deals don't pencil in without city support. So the city has been really good on providing expedited permits, working with us on architectural plans.
The building includes a mix of market rent, fully accessible and affordable units, renting as low as $990 per month. And those affordable units have the same high-quality finishes and appliances as their pricier neighbors.
That is the key to the whole thing. When I originally talked to Blue Vale, that's what we were talking about, the affordability component and the quality of life component.
This is the first office to residential conversion to be completed in London, but several other developers have projects underway or in the planning stages. And as for Blue Vale Capital, they say this is only the beginning for them.
In Calgary, Alberta, we're converting an 18-story building, 200 units. So we're excited to that. But in London, there's so much more potential.
I'm hoping that we do see more investment right across the street and down the street. This is the first one of its kind right here, and I know other property owners will be looking at it with interest.
Facing a stubbornly high office vacancy rate of more than 30%, this conversion is the beginning of what City Hall believes is an evolution of downtown London, with a residential neighborhood being integrated into the business district.
We need more people living downtown, more feet on the street. That's going to make the livelihood better. It's going to bring everybody downtown, and we're going to have better events, better retail, better overall economic stability.
City Hall launched its office to residential conversion program in 2024. Daryl, Newcombe, CTV News.
The federal Conservative leader wants to amend Canada's criminal code, making it legal for use of lethal force against home intruders.
Our amendment instead will change Section 34.2 of the Criminal Code to say that the use of force, including lethal force, is presumed reasonable against an individual who unlawfully enters a house and poses a threat to the safety of anyone inside. Simply put, it means you have the right to use force to defend your home and your family against someone who threatens you and who has entered illegally.
The current law allows Canadians to defend themselves against intruders under 9 conditions. Pierre Poilievre says that's not enough, suggesting the rules unfairly punish victims of home invasions. Last week, police in the Kawartha Lakes area charged a man with assaulting someone accused of breaking into his home, sending them to hospital with serious injuries. OPP in Lambton County say they're investigating a serious crash south of Sarnia. They say it was a head-on collision yesterday afternoon on Highway 40 near Oil Springs Line. A transport truck and pickup were involved. Police say the person driving the pickup was airlifted to hospital with life-threatening injuries. The trucker was not hurt. South Bruce OPP say they're investigating a fatal crash from yesterday. According to police, 2 cars were involved on Bruce Road 10 north of Hanover. They say a 69-year-old woman was pronounced dead at the scene and 2 other people suffered minor injuries. Provincial police say they'll be stepping up enforcement on roadways this long weekend. It's part of their annual Labor Day traffic safety campaign. As of mid-August, police say 214 people had died on OPP patrolled roads this year because of speeding, intoxication, driver distraction, and refusing to wear a seatbelt. Police are also asking drivers and passengers to report suspected impaired drivers or anyone driving dangerously. They're also asking boaters to wear life jackets and anyone off-roading to wear a helmet. A significant financial boost today for the London Children's Museum. The substantial donation actually comes from the organization's former landlord. With more on the ceremony, here's Jerry Dewan.
They gathered at the former home of the London Children's Museum as Farhi Holdings president Shmuel Farhi announced a $1.3 million donation to what he says is an invaluable city asset.
They have families that can afford to come there, and they are open the door at no cost. So they are not-for-profit, but they call it not-for-profit on steroids.
Farhi Holdings owns the property that housed the museum for 11 years. The museum has now relocated to a new, larger home at 100 Kellogg Lane, officially opening in January.
Since our grand opening, we have welcomed more than 160,000 children and their families through our doors at 100 Kellogg Lane, which is exceptional. At our former location, we would have about 100,000 people per year. So in just 8 months, we've more than exceeded what we used to have.
Farhi has contributed approximately $3.6 million in total to the museum, both in kind and cash.
I'm a firm believer that we have to give back to the community and great organization, and our kids are our future. What's better than to help them?
Although the doors are open, the museum continues to fundraise, seeking another $2.3 million as part of the capital campaign for the $23 million project.
Those contributions allow us to keep the museum accessible and serving the community in the best way we can.
Farhi Holdings continues to look for a tenant for 21 Wharncliffe. Ismail Farhi says if that tenant can't be found, they'll have to weigh other options.
If for whatever reason we can't come up with a tenant that can fit the place, we will consider converting it to residential and build it.
The museum was established in 1977 and was the country's first children's museum. Reta, CTV News.
A local high school student wrapped up her summer volunteering today with a special performance. She was taking part in a music program at London Health Sciences Centre, pairing volunteers with patients, helping them get through treatments.
Same bed, but it feels just a little bit bigger now.
We have a high school volunteer program that's been running for over 50 years at LHSC. This summer, we welcomed 34 students to different programs like the music role. Seen Miraya perform a couple times, and every time I'm here, the patients are clapping along, singing, smiling, feeling very engaged with her. She's excellent at bringing them in and making them feel connected.
That I should have bought you flowers, should have held your hand, should have gave you all my hours when I had the chance.
I learned that patients, they have a lot more to them than just having something medical going on. So really seeing them open up to me after I started singing and playing to them, talking about their families, their lives, their careers, even their anxieties. It was just incredible to really learn about their rich life beyond what was going on in the hospital.
What's going on in that beautiful mind? I'm on your magical mystery ride.
Patients that come into the hospital often experience complications of staying here. So they can lose their mobility. They can even experience acute fluctuations in their level of consciousness or confusion, which we refer to as delirium. And so my research teams have been looking at ways to both prevent and to treat those hospital-acquired complications. We know that it goes beyond just treating the underlying medical problem, and these patients need to be engaged both physically and cognitively in order to recover. The programs run through the rec therapy and the summer volunteer music program have been so important to engaging patients and come and be cognitively, emotionally, and physically stimulated as part of their recovery.
Lights go out and I can't be saved. Tides that I tried to swim against brought me down upon my knees. Oh, I beg it, please.
When we come back, duty-free shipping to the U.S. ended today, and many Canadian business owners are bracing for the impact. Plus, a warning for Canadians crossing the border. American border agents may be suspicious of your phone contents, even if there's nothing on your phone.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's latest.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVLondon.ca, your home for news.
Rock the Runway is landing at the London International Airport September 12th and 13th. Enter at CTVLondon.ca for your chance to win a pair of VIP tickets to see Noah Khan, Miles Smith, and more on Friday, September 12th.
A major change for businesses today in Canada and around the world with the end of a duty exemption for low-cost items shipping to the U.S. The policy had been in place for nearly a century. Jeremy Sherrill has more on the impact now that it's gone.
In small businesses across the country, there is an unfortunate new reality.
I know that I'm going to see a decline in sales to the States.
Cal Green's Ottawa-based streetwear brand Raised by Wolves is no exception.
So we've produced the apparel, they've done the shoes, and then
At least a quarter of his business comes through direct sale to American consumers or wholesalers. His product no longer exempt from duties when shipped south of the border, forcing him to make a difficult decision.
the duties, the tariffs, the brokerage fees, and the shipping is going to be included in the price for U.S. customers to be transparent. That's really all I can do at this point. As a small business, I can't afford to eat those costs.
Some of his products could still be exempt if he can prove they're CUSMA compliant. But like for thousands of other businesses, that will require more time and effort, which experts say won't always make sense.
If they want to go into the process of making sure that their goods are CUSMA compliant, that may not be worth the cost for many businesses.
It's a huge nightmare. Has been a really, really steep learning curve.
Last year, almost 1.4 billion packages entered America duty-free. Now, the new fees will vary based on a variety of factors, including the country of origin. But some businesses say they'll avoid it altogether.
To avoid confusion and conflicts with customers, I just suspended U.S. shipping for now.
Others hopeful to keep at least some of their longtime American customers.
I don't think there's as much anyone can do about it at this point. So I just want to keep moving forward and do the best I can.
At least 25 countries have opted to suspend U.S. shipping, citing a lack of clarity around enforcement. Canada Post says it'll work with a third party to collect and send the duties directly to U.S. Customs. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, Ottawa.
A warning for travelers crossing the U.S. border. Officers may be asking for more than your passport. As Travis Fortnum reports, they may want to go through your phone, and if you want to cross, you're obliged to let them.
Crossing into the U.S. has long been a Windsor-Detroit convenience, but lately some Canadians are more cautious.
I'm a frequent traveler to the United States. I haven't noticed any significant change in how officers deal with Canadians.
Immigration lawyer Eddie Kadri says what has travelers talking is the rise in device searches. U.S. Customs and Border Protection data show officers searched nearly 15,000 phones and laptops between April and July, the busiest stretch since 2018, though the agency says such searches are still rare. And it is totally within their power to ask to see your phone.
They have a tremendous amount of discretion at their disposal, and the law supports that.
Kadri says you need to decide before leaving home if you're comfortable with the type of questions and searches border agents are authorized to conduct.
It really isn't the time or place to have that at the port of entry when you're seeking entry. And certainly you can, but you can't expect it to go well for you at that point.
Some Canadians report being turned away because of politically charged posts online. CTV tech analyst Carmi Levy says you need a strategy before you cross. One option, deleting social media or messaging apps, then reinstalling them after your trip.
However, there also is the very real risk that if none of these apps are on your phone and your phone is essentially blank or bare, that might arouse suspicion when you cross the border, and that might prompt additional questions.
And deleting an app doesn't guarantee your posts or messages are gone.
It's very easy to bypass the limitations of removing your data from your phone because border officials certainly have other tools at their disposal.
Levy adds you could leave your phone at home or travel with a burner, but the best advice remains the same. Be mindful of your digital footprint.
This kind of guidance will benefit us regardless of what's happening politically at the time.
And while the legal advice is to be prepared, Kadri says don't let fear keep you from crossing.
By and large, the men and women who work at the ports of entry between Canada and the United States on the American side, they're good people just trying to do their job.
Travis Fortnum, CTV News.
It's been 20 years since one of the worst natural disasters in American history struck. There are parts of New Orleans still dealing with Hurricane Katrina's impact 2 decades later. As NBC's Jennifer Bjorklund reports, some of the damage may just be permanent.
On the campus of Tulane University,
Napoleon sells it to the U.S.
Katrina is part of a lesson for a group of architecture students who have little, if any, memory of the deadly storm.
It's American history to them, okay? I'm 59. It would be like talking about World War II practically when I was a kid.
But for this city, it's a reality that's reshaped their community and lives.
There seems to be a sense of confusion by these poor people on which way to go.
The unbelievable images on TV screens across the nation that last week of August 2005 are indelibly imprinted on anyone who lived through it.
Get us out of here! We want to get out of here!
We're suffering. We're suffering here.
90-degree heat in the days that followed, with New Orleans humidity, the response at the Superdome vastly underestimating the human toll.
Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job.
Failures by FEMA and man-made levees compounded the humanitarian disaster in the days following the initial storm as the floodwaters continued to rise.
And you could see the news gets worse and worse and worse.
Back inside the classroom, Tulane University geographer and Associate Dean of Research Richard Campanella shares details and memories of the tragedy with his students.
So imagine that flood wall completely disintegrating. People are living at -4 here. The water is at +14. That's 18 feet of head within the span of 2 blocks.
Campanella says the man-made elements failed 20 years ago, but with work on the drainage and levee systems, New Orleans is now in a much better position to withstand a hurricane like Katrina. While in the 9th Ward, one of the hardest hit neighborhoods, there are reminders parts of this city may never fully recover.
When you go to the areas that suffered a greater exposure to the hazard and had greater social vulnerability, you still see Katrina.
But in the city's central business district and the iconic French Quarter, you can clearly see and feel the essence of this city, saved, many will tell you, by its unique style and culture. The Big Easy back in so many ways as recovery, which has been anything but easy, continues 2 decades later. Jennifer Bjorklund, NBC News.
Meteorologist Gary Archibald is with me tonight, and Gary's get into the final long weekend of the summer. Going to start to feel a little more like summer because it really hasn't here in London, at least the last couple days.
You're right about that. Sunny for the long stretch, and I'm talking about the Labor Day weekend, Carlyle. I think the ridge of high pressure is going to keep things beautiful, comfortably beautiful for the next 4 days straight before things really start to cool off. And the last couple of weeks of summer, as we head towards the 22nd of September, really start to cool down. 19 degrees today at the airport, a mixture of sun and cloud. We are clearing, though, as we head towards the overnight. The low this morning was 7 degrees. Yes, those temperatures in terms of the daily maximums and minimums, highs and lows, have been at times several degrees below average over the last 7 days, in fact. We're in the mid to upper teens between, say, Strathroy, London, towards Kitchener, Waterloo, a bit cooler in Mount Forest and Shelburne. Our friends also in Barrie and Orillia have been chilly today, 14 degrees. The winds are lightening up through the overnight, but as I speak through to about 11 p.m., we'll see gusts in that 20 to 30K range, again under a clear sky. A couple of weeks ago, in fact, 3 to 4 weeks ago, we were in drought-like conditions. It was very hot and humid across southern Ontario and the lower Great Lakes. Now the shift is on, and the prairies in particular have warmed up considerably. We are much colder by 10 to 15 degrees by comparison. The night sky looks great for tonight, just like it was yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. Enjoy it, because we will eventually cloud over as we head towards Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. at times over the next week. Not much to see in terms of the rainfall tally in the next 24 hours, so we'll just skip ahead. Take a look at the breakdown I have for tonight. Clear as a bell. 14 degrees at 8 o'clock. The wind out of the north sustained at 15 kilometers per hour. Lightning by midnight. And at that juncture, we're down to about 9 degrees Celsius and still clear as we head towards dawn Saturday morning. Here's a look at our metal roof 7-day forecast. Highs and lows anticipated. We will get cloudy through the midday tomorrow in London, but then mostly sunny towards the latter stage of the afternoon, seeing a high of about 21 at about 4 or 5 p.m. The low could be close to 5 or 6 degrees. The lows are in the single digits for the next 3 days. Usually the low, normally, but not always, comes in just before sunrise that day. Sunday, Monday, warming up, mid-20s anticipated. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are a bit up in the air. Some models have us down to about 19, 17, 15 degrees Celsius. Other models still have us in the 20s. The Midwest could see some very light showers and a bit cloudier for the morning tomorrow, high of 19. But then mid-20s, look at this. Sunday into Labor Day Monday. Tuesday, first day back to school, looks good, and then some cloudiness moving in for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and temperatures tapering off. 2 weeks from now, we'll be definitely in the teens and single digits for highs and lows. That's a look at your weather. Carlyle?
Gary, thanks very much. Still ahead, Canada's economy contracts in the second quarter under pressure from Trump's tariffs.
We've got the soundtrack to your long weekend. Join us for the iHeartRadio Pure Country Countdown, where we take you through the biggest songs and stories of the week.
We figure out when Lainey Wilson's next album is coming out, and Dierks Bentley might be quitting music to focus on UFO hunting. We'll talk about it this weekend.
Welcome back. New numbers on Canada's economic health show a worsening situation. Kamil Karamali has more on the figures and how close we are to entering a recession.
After months of being assaulted by U.S. tariffs and battered by the ongoing trade war, Canada now showing major cracks in the armor.
This is not a good picture for Canada and what's happening here.
Canada's economy contracted in the second quarter, much more than expected, shrinking by 1.6% on an annualized basis. It's the first quarterly contraction in nearly 2 years and the steepest decline since the pandemic.
Essentially, the big change was in the first quarter, we had a rush to get exports out into the U.S. as quickly as possible. In the second quarter, that all came to a halt as some of these tariffs started to take effect.
U.S. President Donald Trump ramped up tariffs against Canada and the world that quarter, targeting steel, aluminum, and autos. While April, May, and June then saw a sharp drop-off in business investment by roughly 10%.
The depth of decline that we're seeing in the manufacturing sector is something that we haven't seen in many years. And so it is a cause for concern.
Vehicle exports plummeting nearly 25%, industrial machinery exports and travel services also falling drastically. In fact, Canada saw an unprecedented trade deficit in the second quarter, with a big gap between its minimal exports versus its massive amount of imports. The difference between the two, a whopping $19.6 billion in goods and services.
Well, guess what's happening in the middle of a trade war with the U.S.? We're exporting substantially less stuff to our major trade partner.
All of it raising fears of a recession, which economists say Canada would be in if the GDP sees another decline in the third quarter of this year.
We need to be a little bit more cautious, and that caution, of course, feeds into the economy.
The latest GDP figures putting a sharper focus on the Bank of Canada and whether it'll make an interest rate cut in mid-September. Kamil Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has launched the new Major Projects Office, a single point of contact for so-called nation-building projects. The Major Projects Office will be headquartered in Calgary with offices in other major Canadian cities. Carney has appointed the board chair of the Trans Mountain Corporation as the office's CEO. He says the MPO will streamline and accelerate regulatory approval and coordinate financing for projects as needed. It will also oversee those fast-tracked approvals with guidance from public servants and First Nations representatives. The government is expected to announce the first set of nation-building projects in the coming weeks. The materials sector helped lift Canada's main stock index to a higher close this week. The TSX is up 130 points. In New York, the Dow fell 92 and the Nasdaq lost 249. The Canadian dollar added 0.07 of a cent today. On commodity markets, gold gained almost $42 an ounce. Oil dropped 59 cents a barrel. Coming up, a controversy brewing in Alberta schools over banning books and the literary classics children won't be allowed to read. Welcome back. London police announced multiple gun and drug busts today. They say last week officers raided a house near Egerton and Grafton, finding a loaded handgun as well as cocaine and cash. 2 Londoners face various charges in that case. Earlier this week, police say they seized 3 rifles, including one with a sawed-off barrel, plus a large amount of ammunition. They say a local man and woman face several offenses in that case, and they remain in custody. They also say on August 1st, officers executed a search warrant at a home near Rideout in Fullerton, seizing 22 rifles and 5 boxes of ammo. They say they've charged a 24-year-old London man with 5 counts of carelessly storing firearms. The provincial government is planning to expand coverage for RSV protection. As Pauline Chan reports, everyone over the age of 75 will now have access.
Respiratory syncytial virus is so common that most children will have at least one infection before the age of 2, but it's also dangerous for older Canadians.
Ontario Public Health is going to cover the RSV vaccine for any Ontario resident over 75, in addition to those smaller, higher-risk populations.
Those would include the immunocompromised, First Nations, pregnant people, infants, and those over 60 who live in long-term care. In Canada, there are currently 3 vaccines available for adults over age 60. They are Arexvy, Abrysvo, and a new mRNA vaccine called Mresvia.
Arexvy is adjuvanted, means it has an extra additive to the vaccine to propel your immune system. Particularly important in older patients. Abrysvo doesn't have an adjuvant. The other third vaccine is made by Moderna, so it's an mRNA platform, a different technology. Approved by Health Canada, not readily available.
The government has not yet announced which vaccine will be covered or whether they might be available through pharmacies. Dr. Christine Palme says the effects of RSV can be so serious that an independent senior can often experience life-altering circumstances after, like being forced into long-term care.
The reality is not returning to your home, so you've entered in one state, but you leave in a completely different state is 8%, and that's harrowing to me that you have a vaccine-preventable disease.
RSV season usually starts at the beginning of fall, and Palme says even people who aren't covered may want to pay for the $350 shot out of pocket or through their own health benefits to be protected. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A life-changing program designed here in London is expanding. With new funding and partnerships, the people behind IHEAL are trying to reach even more women facing intimate partner violence. Reta Ismail reports.
I wanted to get out of that relationship. I was trapped. I couldn't.
She asked us not to reveal her identity, but she wants others to know healing is possible.
They use their manipulative strategies to keep you in the relationship because by that point they learn your weak points.
This survivor says the IHEAL program gave her the tools that she needed to reclaim her life.
It's helped incredibly. I think with all the other supports, like there's the counseling, the therapy, just the self-work and things like that. IHEAL program enhanced it.
Developed by researchers at Western University, the program connects women with specially trained nurses who guide them through issues like health, safety, relationships, and access to resources.
The impacts of violence on women's lives is really broad. You know, it affects so many different things, you know, their health, their safety, their relationships, their children, even their economic situation. And yet a lot of the services that we have, the really fine services we have, by the way, are more oriented to helping women during crisis period. But we know that we need some focus as well on kind of the longer term view.
Thanks to $2.4 million in new provincial funding, iHeal is expanding beyond London for the first time, launching this fall in Elgin, Oxford, and St. Thomas. 8 nurses from the Middlesex London Health Unit and Southwestern Public Health are being trained to deliver personalized care.
It's been life-changing. It's been inspiring. We've learned a lot from the women that we've worked with and the iHeal research team. So I think the education that we've been provided has really helped to equip nurses in supporting women experiencing intimate partner violence and supporting them with some individualized one-on-one personal care.
Researchers hope the program's success will inspire expansion to even more communities and reach survivors across Canada, something that this survivor hopes to help with by sharing her story.
Try to let go of that fear and just save yourself. Don't think about anyone except getting yourself safe and getting the help that you need to recover.
Reta, Ismail, CTV News.
The Alberta government is seemingly developing a book ban which would take several award-winning novels out of public schools. A former Edmonton School Board trustee was sent an internal document with a working list of the books flagged for removal. It includes A Handmaid's Tale, written by renowned Canadian author Margaret Atwood, and Aldous Huxley's critically acclaimed Brave New World. Alberta's education minister had issued an order to ban books depicting explicit sexual content from all public school libraries.
It's pretty hard to think of a book like The Color Purple, for example, and say that's a pornographic novel. Does it include, sometimes upsetting content about, sexual assault? Yes. It should, in terms of what the story it's telling. I don't think that we should be always saying that we shouldn't have these conversations with youth. We should.
The Public School Board would not share the whole list of books with CTV. The board chair says staff worked over the summer to ensure only books meeting the province's criteria would be removed. Officials with the Quebec government say they want to ban prayer in public places in the name of secularism. The province's secularism minister announced the plan yesterday. A few months ago, Quebec's premier had stated he didn't want to see people praying in public parks or on streets. The minister would not say whether Quebec would invoke the notwithstanding clause to override sections of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. In response, the Canadian Muslim Forum said a blanket ban would stigmatize communities, fuel exclusion, and undermine Quebec's social cohesion.
Let's look at our CTV News weather snapshot. Thanks to Leanne Gledhill for sharing this image of a rose. And speaking of rosy conditions weather-wise, picture sunshine and comfortable conditions for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and the first day back to school on Tuesday. Labor Day looks good. Plan to be outdoors. Don't forget your sunscreen. The ridge of high pressure will assure such sunny weather for the next 4 days before things start to gray over, get wet and cooler. Wherever you are, happy holiday.
A university in Sudbury has completed a substantial real estate sale with the provincial government. As Amanda Hicks reports, the transaction marks the end of a financial crisis for Laurentian, the first Canadian university to ever declare insolvency.
Laurentian University successfully exited the CCAA process in late 2022. However, the university still had to complete the final steps, which included the sale of $53.5 million in real estate assets and the distribution of funds to creditors. Today, it was announced through an internal memo that the university had finalized the sale of properties to the province.
There will be a sense of relief from many members. It was a very long process, and especially for also terminated employees and terminated faculty members who were waiting to get a part of their severance.
It's a bittersweet announcement. On the one hand, it's a reminder of what happened with CCAA. On the other hand, it's a step forward towards exiting that process completely and sort of that positive rebirth of Laurentian that we're all looking forward to.
Among the properties being sold are the East Residence, the Northern Ontario School of Medicine Health Sciences Building, and the Valley Living with Lakes Centre, which was finalized as of last December. The university will lease back 3 of the properties to ensure continued use of the facilities.
It represents only 24% of what was owed to the creditors, so including indeed LUFA terminated members and also Laurentian University terminated employees. And that shows how cruel the CCAA process was.
Laurentian said the university's president would not be commenting publicly, but stated in the memo that the final steps in the process would be completed as of December. Amanda Hicks, CTV News, Sudbury.
More electric vehicle charging stations are coming to Tim Hortons locations. The fast food chain is partnering with Quebec-based Flow, saying EV fast chargers will be added to dozens of locations across all 10 provinces by the end of 2028. The installations are part of an investment from the Canada Infrastructure Bank, which committed $235 million to build more than 1,900 public EV chargers nationwide. A long-running Canadian television show is the subject of a new documentary screening at this year's Toronto International Film Festival. With more on the behind-the-scenes look at Degrassi, here's Andrea Case.
There was a notice about auditions for this new kids show.
And then one day, my mom called me and told me, "You got the role." And I just grabbed my bag and left. And man, what a wild journey that started.
The new documentary, Degrassi, Whatever It Takes, would never have happened without Ivy Mudd.
I started Degrassi, and I'm like, why is there no documentary about this?
Do you always take your daughter's advice?
From now on, I will, clearly.
It is the longest-running and most successful franchise in TV history.
2 years ago, the then 13-year-old Ivy began watching Degrassi from the very beginning of its 385 episodes. She asked her TV and film producer mother that fateful question.
It was pretty clear that, it sort of stands the test of time. So the question was, what's the future of it? And why not celebrate something that's 4 decades old?
Ivy was captivated by the TV show about a group of kids in a Toronto school and their lives inside and outside the classroom.
I think everything still holds up. It talks about things like eating disorders, and I feel like people can relate all over the world.
Cast members were game to take part in the documentary, including perhaps its now most famous former student, Jimmy, a.k.a. Aubrey Graham, a.k.a. Drake. Mudd had to get the blessing of show creator Linda Schuyler, which was easier than she thought.
We had lunch. We sort of poured our hearts out. And I don't think that she had any expectations. She was very hands-off.
As for getting accepted into the Toronto International Film Festival,
I've been around a while. This is my first TIFF, and it is... it's incredible, and in our own town, in Toronto, with a franchise that is homegrown. It's a Toronto story, right? But arguably one of our biggest cultural exports. So it's amazing to be here.
Degrassi, Whatever It Takes, will have its world premiere on September 13th at 6:15 at Scotiabank Theatre. Do you have your outfit picked out for the red carpet?
Not yet, but it has to be amazing.
Andrea Case, CTV News.
London's top stories.
We have breaking news tonight out of Ottawa. The latest on the
breaking news alerts.
I'm tracking an area of severe weather. It'll start.
And watch live.
A development now to a story from City Hall we brought you.
Download the CTV News app.
It's Jeff Keefe and Backstage Event from Virgin Radio, and we're sending you to London's largest outdoor festival, Rock the Runway.
Tickets are on sale now, or you can listen to us on 97.5 Virgin Radio for your chance to win Noah Khan tickets.
Finally tonight, an Alberta couple chasing big music dreams with a tiny stage. They've created what they call the littlest honky-tonk. As Stephanie Thomas reports, they've already recruited some serious star power.
Post Malone and his band crammed into the littlest honky-tonk, a converted horse trailer towed from Calgary down to floor level at the Rice Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, Utah. Posty is on the road for his country album F1 Trillion Stadium Tour, but he wanted to strum on this little stage.
His manager saw one of our videos organically, which is the best way that we could get out.
Boots and Laura Graham recently started a video series recording local and international country musicians in the littlest honky-tonk. In June, Post Malone recorded 2 videos celebrating country western lifestyle.
He was dragging calves at a branding the day before, like working cowboy stuff. And he has platinum teeth and face tattoos and a rap career, so I was not expecting that. It was completely out of left field for me.
The couple began refurbishing a horse trailer in 2021, over time adding more music memorabilia. Now, it's like a mini museum.
It's like stuff we're interested in and have always been interested in, so it's like country music stuff. As people know what we're doing, they kind of want to be a little part of the project as well.
The stories from this tiny set are almost as precious as the items on its walls.
Post Malone stood between these horns, or Corb Lund was a little bit too tall, so he had to crouch down in here. And
they hope to one day host other icons of country music and maybe take the trailer down to Nashville.
Sky's the limit. Dolly Parton. Here we come.
Stephanie Thomas, CTV News, Calgary.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. For your latest local headlines, you can always head to our website. And for all of us at CTV News London, I'm Carlyle Fiset. Have a great weekend.